we go.
There she is.
Howdy.
Good afternoon, my friend. How art thou?
I'm good, good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I am excellent. Wow, we got a lot to talk about today. We got some folks already coming in. We appreciate you folks wandering in the chat room. This is the KetovoreKast, the early stages, and we're going to talk about various issues that have to do with the keto carnivore way of living from both of our perspectives, and we're going to take your all's questions. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And we appreciate you all for coming in.
Yes, thank y'all.
So there, Miss Amber.
Yes.
Do you have any non-scale victories you would like to share with everybody? Something from a wedding, perhaps?
Yeah, this was an interesting thing. We had gone to a wedding for a really good friend of mine, and all three of her kids grew up with my kids, and her daughter did gymnastics with my daughter. Anyway, we became really good friends, and our kids kind of, they would stay over at each other's houses and etc. So they've known me for quite some time. Well, most of the time they knew me, I was kind of heavy, so that's how they probably knew me. But when they saw me, they were like, whoa. And they were like completely shocked. They were like, I would have never recognized you, and wow, you kind of look hot. And I'm like, okay, wow. So that was that was cool.
That broke your heart to hear that, didn't it?
Oh, terribly. Yeah.
I can relate to that differently. Nobody told me I was hot, but it was interesting. I was at my 40-year high school reunion last week, and we've got a couple of issues that I can talk about from that experience. But one of the most interesting things was, number one, I didn't know how many of my classmates they're following me on Facebook. They're friends of mine on Facebook, but they never say anything. They don't say anything about anything, but they're paying attention. And I probably had 24 people come up to me and congratulate me on my success, because I hadn't seen these people, some of them, for 40 years, but they'd been following on Facebook, and it was really interesting how many of them wanted to know more about this way of eating and had questions. Are you ever constipated was number 2. That was do you ever get tired of just eating meat was the most asked.
I bet it was, yeah.
But it was really kind of interesting to learn. And I think it's so important, we get on social media all the time and we talk about these things. It's really important that we pay attention to the fact people are watching and paying attention.
And you don't even know it.
And so you want to always be putting as much goodness forward as you can.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to, that's why you don't hear us talk about vegans, or we don't make fun of people. We don't trash others. People want to eat different than us. That's their business. That's what's on our plates, our business.
Exactly.
So it's important, I think, for all folks advocating a low-carb lifestyle to always be aware you don't know who's watching.
Very true.
So you always want to put your best foot forward and the best information you can out there. Let's see. Another thing from the reunion experience that wasn't quite so pleasant, I got to witness, and I'm not going to get into all the private details of this, but I got to witness dementia caused by type 2 diabetes up close and personal from Wednesday to Sunday morning. And I can tell you it's not a pretty sight. If you've been given a type 2 diabetes diagnosis, it's reversible. Do everything in your power to reverse it, because you do not want anything to do with what I observed. I got to watch my father, I got to watch his world shrink right in front of my eyes. You don't want to experience that.
That had to be pretty painful.
You don't want your loved ones to, it was disturbing, but my focus was on him, because I wanted him to feel better. I know he has to be frightened beyond belief, It has to be extremely unnerving. He did come back to himself on occasion. To me, that there would be the most frightening part of all, is
Yeah.
to realize, ooh, I can't account for where I've been, however many minutes or hours it's been.
Yeah.
That can't be a good experience. And
I
that's the
can
least
attest to
of it.
that.
That's true for a whole different set of issues.
Yeah.
We might visit that at the end of this discussion. So I mean, it's really horrible. So if you're paying attention to us in any way, shape, or form today or in the future, and you run across this, take it seriously. Type 2 diabetes is not worth carrying. It's not worth managing. It's
No.
not worth carrying on your shoulder for the next 25, 30, 40 years. You don't have to. It's completely reversible.
Simply reversible just by
Yes.
diet. Diet. It's not that difficult, and it's so worth it.
Okay. Somebody asked a question that your experience can help answer this one. I'll let you take it first, Amber.
Okay.
Compassionate Carnivore says, today my roommate told me my muscles eat themselves in ketosis, which I am in, and he's in ketosis because he's more of a 1 meal a day person.
Mhm.
Do you have any information on what is needed to avoid this? Take off, Amber.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, eating enough protein is like the huge thing. And as far, okay, where is he coming from? I didn't quite get the first part of that question. Is
Uh, his his
he's eating
roommate to,
carnivore,
his roommate told him that his muscles eat themselves when he's in ketosis.
but yet his
And
roommate is in ketosis?
no, compassionate carnivore is in ketosis.
Okay.
Compassionate carnivore has a
Okay.
roommate who's declaring that compassionate carnivore's muscles are consuming themselves
Okay.
because he's in ketosis.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much a bunch of hooey, really, because when you are in ketosis, that actually helps you muscle spare, especially if you're getting enough protein and all. That's not even something you need to worry about. Matter of fact, even intermittent fasting, when you're only eating 1 meal a day, it's completely different than when you calorie restrict and you go through those extreme diets. It's not the same thing at all. And there's been quite a few studies that have come out to show that your muscles are not eating itself away. Just don't even worry about that. There's a lot on the internet that you can look up and show to him, but that has not been my experience at all. I was OMAD for about a year and was in ketosis, and I didn't lose any muscle, and I wasn't even exercising. I mean, I still have the same, muscle tone or whatever you want to say. I didn't get a DEXA scan or, whatever you want to say to prove it, but, just looking at my body, I'm not wasting away by any means. So I just wouldn't even worry about that.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Amber 1,000% here. That's a bunch of nonsense. I've been living this way for 11 months. Okay, strictly meat and water, 0 cheat days. And I'm putting muscle on. I'm going to the gym, I'm lifting, I'm doing low weights, high reps. I'm growing muscle. You can't grow muscle if it's eating itself. Okay,
Exactly.
that's a logical fallacy in the extreme. You're going to find, or I have found, let's put it that way. My experience, so much misinformation has been spread, scare tactics, FUD,
Hmm.
to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt about healthy ways of eating. Oh, you can't eat meat. Your cholesterol's going to go through the roof. You're going to have a heart attack and
Yeah,
die. Well, we know that's not really true.
exactly.
Our brains are half of our brains are made up of cholesterol. Think about that for a minute. It can't eat itself. That's the point. It's ridiculous. It's now if we fast or starve ourselves,
Starve is different.
that's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
Then our body will consume muscle tissue to survive. That's a completely, but being in ketosis,
No.
that's not, no.
No. Well,
Matter
the
of
thing
fact,
about it, go
go
ahead, I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go
You know,
ahead.
when back. I have a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
But if you're in ketosis, that means you're burning ketones, right? And why would you need to break down your muscle to get energy? You know, you're already getting that. You're already burning it. You don't need to break anything down to burn. And if you're eating decent enough, you know, especially with the protein, if you do need glucose, like for your brain functioning, you're going to be fine. They're not going to go to your muscles. Why would they go to your body is extremely intelligent. I mean, why would it break down something so important as your muscle when it's got fat and it's got, you know, food in your body if you're doing keto or carnivore correctly? Why in the world would it break down muscles? It just doesn't make any sense. Your body is way smarter than that, you know?
I agree completely. Okay, we have another question about fasting. And the question was, do I fast? Do we fast? And how long of a fast is appropriate? I'm going to tackle this fasting issue first
Okay.
because it's something that I feel very strongly about. Because I was taught by people who eat meat and drink water and have lived this way for 10 and 20 years. That's who I learned all this from. And everything these people have told me has happened in the order they said it would to some degree or another. So I have zero reason to ever doubt what they've taught me. I eat when I am hungry. That means no fasting ever is required. Period. None. I eat when I am hungry. My real hunger signals is my body's way of letting me know, hey, dude, you need some nutrition in there. If you don't give us the nutrition, bad things are going to start happening to us. I don't argue with that. Now, I realize that fasting can be a tool for people who've got specific to them, specific to the individual issues. And I recommend that everybody who has those situations speak with their doctor, because messing with your hunger signals, messing with your nutrition is risky darn business.
Can be.
Period. That's what I have to say on that. And remember, that's a great question. I'll get to it here in a minute. We're going to let Amber address this fasting issue.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different because I came from the keto world. And for me, it was a very, very natural progression because I wasn't hungry. So in a way, I do agree with Brett, because why would you eat if you're not hungry? And I was very in tune to my hunger at that point. And I didn't want to eat. The thought of food turned me off, and that has never happened in my life before, you know. So it was just very natural for me. And I moved into OMAD because for that whole part of the day, I didn't want to eat. I mean, I would have had to force feed myself. And I'm kind of thinking, like what's Brett saying, you eat when you're hungry. Well, I wasn't hungry, so why should I force food in my mouth if I'm not hungry? So to me, it was very natural. Now, when I moved into carnivore, this was kind of a very interesting thing for me, and I told Brett this, and it was a little disturbing because I had come from the whole intermittent fasting keto world. And what I found was on carnivore, I was starting to get hungry, and I was like, what in the heck is this? Why am I hungry? This is messing with my body. I don't like this. But I kind of realized that that's just my body's way of healing even more. And I was needing more of that meat. My body was like, you know, yeehaw, it's getting some meat. So let's keep it going. And so I kind of went with it, and I didn't freak out. And, you know, I did not force myself to fast. Now, I still was not hungry in the morning. However, by about 11 to 12 o'clock, I would start getting hungry, where normally I wouldn't get hungry till like 1 or 2. So I just kind of went with it. And I went ahead and ate when I was hungry. So in a way, I'm basically doing what Brett says. But it is a little bit different than, you know, my world where I came from versus him. But, you know, now I still eat 2 meals a day. I do not eat 3. I am upping my protein a little bit gradually, but it's kind of difficult for me because I just don't want any more, you know, and I'm trying to, you know, but I know that I probably need to increase it just a little bit. I just have this feeling, but yet the hunger signal isn't going, oh my God, I'm starving, so I'm having a little bit more trouble doing that, but it's getting there. But I think, you do really need to just eat when you're hungry. If it's a natural progression, in my opinion, why are you going to force yourself to eat? Why? So I agree with Brett. Kind of. Yes.
I,
Yes.
well, it's always going to be specific to the individual for one thing. And 2 meals a day, that's perfectly acceptable in my opinion. You're eating only when you're hungry. You're not forcing yourself.
Nope.
You're not going hungry. You're not
Nope.
depriving yourself when your body wants food. That's
Exactly.
the difference. When you're fasting, you're depriving yourself. You're ignoring your body's natural hunger signals. A whole different sort of circumstances.
It can be, yes.
All right. One other thing with that. So another reason I don't fast is because I learned from a job I had a few months ago that I had to resign from, is if I don't eat when my body says, hey, dude, you better eat, there's an accumulative negative effect. And some of the crazy starts to come back to me. And I'm not playing with that ever.
Yeah.
There's no benefit that I could possibly get from fasting to ever risk my mental health ever again.
Agree.
All right, moving on to the next question we have in here. Y'all are asking some great questions today. Relima, 1877, asked, Brett, do you ever measure your ketone levels? No, I do not. I have learned the symptoms for when you're in ketosis. And for me, the one that jumps out is my body temperature will lower, which is really exciting when it's like the real feel, the heat index is like 116 outside, and I'm taking a walk, enjoying myself, and suddenly I get a little chilly. It's kind of wild. It's kind of funny. And I just giggle. I'm like, well, there's those ketones doing their thing. But I don't measure things. I feel no need to. I only eat meat. I only drink water. Ketosis is the natural state for the human body to be in under those circumstances. What is there to measure? I'm thriving. I feel incredible. Now, I know you do it, or you used to do a little measure.
Yeah.
Why don't you touch on that?
When I was about 5 months into keto, I went ahead and got the Keto Mojo thing, and it was an awesome tool for me because I could see how certain foods affected me. And that's a huge thing to know. Of course, now I'm basically just eating meat, so it doesn't really matter. But I have occasionally checked my ketones and my glucose. And what I did notice is that my glucose reading went up a little bit. It was still, in the low normal, but I was used to being really low. And so that was, I admit, I got a little bit concerned about that. And my ketones were like 0.3. And I was like, what is that about? And so that made me a little bit nervous. But after reading and researching it, it's perfectly normal for it to be like that, and especially during the adjustment period. So I'm going to keep monitoring personally for me, just because I think it's a great tool. Do I think you need to? No. But if you want to learn more about your body, if you're interested, it is kind of a cool thing to do, especially if you're keto. Not so much carnivore, because, you're eating the same food, so you really don't have to worry about, maybe check once, and then you kind of know where your baseline is. But you're not eating the sweeteners. You're not doing all that kind of stuff. So, there's really not much of a need on carnivore as maybe on keto. So
beautiful, beautiful. I agree. I think it's a very useful tool for many people, especially folks who are coming. I was low carb for like 3.5 years before I went carnivore. Through that journey, knowing my ketones, if I had been aware of all that, because I wasn't through most of that journey, it would have been useful and interesting. But I'm not a measurer. And that leads to the next question. Do you watch calories? I only measure the weight of the meat I eat. I don't give a rat's damn about how many calories I consume over the course of a day. I haven't cared since day one We're at day 340 something now of me living this way, and I still don't care. I care even less now than I did before, because all I do is focus on eating until I'm not another bite full, and then I don't think about food again until the next meal. Calories are irrelevant to me. Amber, what are your thoughts?
I 100% agree now. I was not big into the calorie counting anyway, not even when I was keto, because I was more worried about macros. And I'm not obviously not worried about that anymore. But no, I don't worry about calories because I'm allowing my body to decide what I'm going to eat. And I mean, I know I eat like 1.5 pounds of meat a day, and I know I need to increase that a little bit, but I just, there's no need. What am I eating that, it's meat?
Why do you feel like you need to increase that? I'm curious because,
Well, I keep
you're not
hearing that.
You're not a very tall
No,
person. You're only
no.
like 5'2".
Mm,
You don't appear to me to have, you're not a big bone girl.
no.
So,
I just keep hearing you're not going to get enough of the nutrients that you need because like the minimum even for a small person is like 2 pounds. And I'm like,
nah,
oh, I just
that's,
can't do it.
I'm going to correct you there. I think
Okay.
you misinterpreted something or misread something, because you're a human being, just like the rest of us.
Well, there's a
It's
lot out
really,
there that are saying that.
well, what I read is generally
Uh-huh.
for most people. And again, it's always going to be specific to the individual. Somebody
Absolutely.
who's 6'4" is going to need to eat more meat than somebody
Sean
who's
Baker?
5'2".
Yeah.
Okay? Somebody who's my height. Even with height, it's going to depend on what's your metabolism like, what's your body structure like.
How much muscle? Yeah.
I'm designed to be a lean human being, a lean 6 foot tall male. Okay? So no matter how much food I pound away, my weight's at 177. It's been this
Yeah.
way for almost 9 months now.
Yeah.
So the only reason I bring that up, so many people here, I can't eat that much meat. Oh my God, what am I going to do? You eat till you're not another bite full, till you're not another bite full, not till Brett's not another bite full, or till Amber or your mom or
Yeah.
whoever's there.
I'm satiated.
Till you're not another bite full. And that's always going to be different.
Yeah.
Don't take some of these measuring sticks and think, oh gosh, I can't do that ever. You may not need to. You may start out not needing to and find out later you can.
Yeah. Well, you see so much out there, and so you got to kind of wonder. And so for me, I experiment. I see how it affects my body, and then I decide. But, you see all this, the things you're doing wrong with carnivore, and one of them is not eating enough. And, then you see even the smallest person should eat like 2 pounds of meat. And I'm like, can't eat anymore.
That's just the kind of the thing you're going to run into on the internet in general, where suddenly everybody's an expert.
Yeah,
that's
true.
why I'm very careful about, and the place I recommend that people go to. It's to say, because specifically, I only recommend people join this one group because the folks that reside there, they only talk about carnivore the way I believe it should be done, and the way that they've been taught it should be done for these 20, 30 plus years now for some of them. And that's all they discuss is how to do carnivore.
Right.
It's not about other ways of eating. You have to actually agree. This is all we're going to talk about while we're here, because that's the purpose. It's not an argument group. It's how do you do this? How do we heal ourselves this way? When we ran into this problem, did we react? And what have the knowledge, they've accumulated so much knowledge over the years. I think they're the premier carnivore information group on planet Earth right now, in my opinion. All right, let's go. Let's see. Somebody else. How large are your meals is the next question. Amber, you want to start with that one?
Sure. What I usually do is, like I said, I only eat twice a day. 80%, 85% of the time, this is what I eat. I have an 8-ounce burger, and it's made of a combination of 80-20 beef or bison lamb, elk, Wagyu. It just kind of depends on what I have on hand. I've been really loving beef and lamb. It's really a great combination. And then I'll have like 5 to 7 pieces of bacon. And I do that usually twice a day. On weekends, I usually have that for one meal, and then when we go out, I'll have a steak and bacon. So, that's pretty much all I do.
Awesome. See, for me, I eat the same thing every day. I've come across this. I found this combination just works perfect for me, and I really see no need to ever change until my body says, hey, man, it's time to start putting something else in your mouth or something different. I eat 8 ounces of ground beef, or for you folks outside the United States, mince. I eat 90-10 protein to fat ratio ground beef, and I eat 8 slices of bacon with every breakfast and every lunch. For dinner, I have 12 ounces of that 90-10 ground beef / mince and 8 to 10 slices of bacon. Every meal, every day, that's what I eat. Every day, it's delicious. It's like the greatest thing I've ever put in my mouth. I never get bored. It's bacon. How do you get tired of eating bacon?
Yeah, I don't know.
So 28 ounces of the 90-10 ground beef, 24 to 30 slices of bacon a day. And at bedtime, I'll have 8 to 12 ounces of homemade bone broth. And that's all I consume. That's all I need to consume. It works perfect for me. All right, somebody's asking about alcohol, which kind of leads us back to a story that we were thinking about saving for the end, but now's your chance to shine, Amber. Take it away.
Yeah, I've shared this before, but for those who didn't hear, since going carnivore, apparently my tolerance for alcohol is extremely low, and I'm talking low. And when we went to this one wedding, not the wedding we just went to, but a couple of weeks back, whatever, and we had gone to Chewy's, and I decided to have a couple of drinks, and I proceed to not remember the next 3 hours of my life. Yeah. I seriously had no clue what I did, and I've never had that happen before in my life.
The technical term for this, ladies and gentlemen, is a blackout. You don't have to be soused for it to happen either. Continue, my friend.
Yeah, I was soused, though, I'll admit it. I had no clue. It was just like, bam, hit me, and I didn't even know what I was doing. So luckily I was with my husband, and he was telling me stuff that I did, and I'm like, no, I didn't. And he's like, oh, look at your camera roll, dear. And I looked up, and I was like, oh, my good God. And the more he told me, the more I'm like, no, I didn't do that. And he's like, oh, yeah, you did. So be really careful, specifically when you're doing carnivore, because your tolerance is so low. And what was the actual question?
The question was just alcohol.
Just
basically
alcohol, period?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, do I? Yeah, I kind of admit I do. It's generally vodka and water, and it's when we go out dancing, and I'll have 1 or 2 drinks, and that's it. And it has not affected me in any way, shape, or form, except for that one time. And I've learned my lesson, and that was not a good thing. So I won't be doing that again. I kind of know that I have a lot lower tolerance, so I know kind of when to stop. It just literally hit me, bam, and I didn't even know. So I'm a lot more careful about that. But yes, I do that. And as far as I know, it has not affected me in any way, shape, or form. So, we'll see. I mean, I don't have a ton of it, but I do.
I only drink, I will on very, very rare occasions, if I'm having trouble sleeping and I wake up at between midnight and 2 a.m. and can't go back to sleep, I will rarely have a shot of vodka and chase it with a little water just to get back to sleep. But I haven't had to do that in ages. In fact, since I came back from my trip to West Virginia, I've slept 7 hours. My gosh, I even had one night where I slept the night straight through uninterrupted, and that hadn't happened in years.
Nice.
So, a question in here. Why do you both measure your meat if you both are to eat until full? Well, that's an easy question. After you've been doing this long enough, you kind of know. I can
Hmm.
eat this much, or I can
Hmm.
eat that much. And if you're being honest and paying attention to your body, you're going to know I need to have a little more fat, maybe an extra couple
Yeah.
pieces of bacon. Maybe I need to have another half a ground beef patty. You're going to be aware that you need to eat a little differently. But Vic Cosmetics is one who asked this question. It's a great question.
Hmm.
Another reason to do it is to make sure you're not wasting food.
Yeah.
I don't ever have leftovers. Do you have leftovers? I mean, if you're
No.
carnivore, I don't either.
Occasionally bacon, believe it or not, but sometimes I do it on purpose so I can have it for another time or whatever, or to take
Okay,
with me.
I
But
got you.
yeah.
I got you. But that's why I measured is I don't
Hmm.
want to waste meat, and I don't want to because meat takes time to cook. It's not like, ooh, I ran out. I'll have to take 30 minutes to go fix some more, fry some more ground beef, make some more bacon. Who wants to do that? So it
Yeah.
helps just to be exact for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do it just because I was curious, and so every so often I'll weigh to see if I have it right, because I right about the eight ounce mark. Sometimes it's 7 ounces, sometimes it's 8.5, sometimes I'm a little bit off, but I pretty well know the amount now. I can put it out, and I'm like, okay, this is about this much. And it's not because, oh, I have to have 8 ounces. It's I kind of, generally get in that area, and that seems to be what works for me. So.
Yeah, last week when I was at my parents' house in West Virginia, I didn't have our scale. You know, we have scales here and everything, and there was no scales there, so I had to like measure out by sight. And I
Hmm.
know that I made patties that were much larger than what I would normally eat. But did I gain any weight? No. Did I walk 20 miles last week like I normally would here? No, I maybe walked 4. I gained no weight because still my nutrition, I just gave my body nutrition. I didn't give it anything else. And when you do that,
Yeah.
you're not going to put on weight unless you're gorging yourself. And who's got time for that? Um, let's see. Energy issues. How has your energy been lately, my friend?
Well, it is improving. We've talked about this before, but I'll just reiterate for those who don't know. When I first started on carnivore, after a couple of weeks, I kind of noticed my energy was going down, and I was like, "What is going on with that?" And because on keto, I was kind of in hyper mode all the time because I was in ketosis and I was going. And I started kind of, going downhill a little bit, and I kind of, asked Brett about it, and I decided that, well, maybe I just need to up fat just a little bit. I'm not talking a lot. I'm talking like a tablespoon of butter or something, or more bacon grease or something like that. And it seemed to kind of help. But here over the last, I don't know, probably 2 weeks, I've noticed my energy is starting to go back up. It's still not where I want it to be, where it was on keto, but it's getting there. So I think maybe I'm finally getting close to that, being at the end of that adaptation period. So that's kind of exciting. So I can't wait to see, what happens in another couple of weeks. I'm hoping it will continue to get better and better and better, and we'll see. But it's better now, so I'm much happier.
I think you're going to do just fine. A lot of people make the mistake that they'll look at my example and they'll look at other people's examples and try to apply it to their own lives. And it's all very specific to the individual. The
Very
reason
true.
I had an easy adaptation is there's a good reason for it. It's because I was low carb for years before I went into this. I didn't just go from a standard American diet to meat and water. If I had, I'm sure I
No,
would have had a much more
no,
difficult
not good.
time. Just a much more difficult time. Um, I want to share a couple of scares that I had while I was out of town because I got to experience what life as
Hmm.
a carnivore on the road is like. And let me tell you what, it's not for, if you're not a good planner, it can come back and bite you, slap you right upside the head really fast.
Yep.
For starters, I learned that I need how long my layover, but in like these what do they call these airports? They're like Charlotte, these hubs, let's say, like in O'Hare and Chicago and other, these hub type airports where a lot of flights are in and out of all the time
Hmm.
onto other destinations. And on the way up, I had a 2-hour layover. Plenty of time to get something to eat. Not a problem. Didn't matter how far I had to walk to get from gate A to gate B. But on the way back, the timing was a lot closer. And I started getting really paranoid because I know what happens to me if I don't eat when I should. 2 or 3 days after that, my mood or my behavior is going to get a little wacky, and we don't want that. So I was able to get a couple of meat patties and start chowing them down as the plane was boarding. So I've learned that on the mornings that I have to fly, I need to eat just a little more than I normally would. I need to feast a little. So just to prepare for that opportunity, because so many things are out of your control. What if your plane breaks down and you're late getting to where you thought you were going to be, and there's nothing to eat at the airport you're at? What do? These are things you have to prepare for. Somebody's asking a question. Brett, did your anxiety and depression lift only after going carnivore? Any improvements with just keto? Okay, this is another difference between Amber and I. I was never keto. I did low carb, high fat. I was doing the Brett version of Atkins for 3.5 years. I did not lose any symptoms. My depression, anxiety, insomnia did not get better. Low carb, high fat. I lost a ton of weight. I started putting my body back together inch by inch, but I didn't lose the symptoms. Those didn't go away. I lost my depression symptoms 24 days into carnivore. My anxiety hung around for about 5 more months before I kicked it to the curb. And the insomnia has gotten better gradually over time, as you've just recently heard me describe. What about you, Amber? Have you noticed any mood changes or whatnot since you went from keto to carnivore?
No, not really. I think most of here's the thing though. There are some people who don't need to go carnivore because they can address everything on keto, which was pretty much me, except for a few things. And the fact that, like I said, I like to experiment and I want to see, will I stick with this? I think so, but I don't think I have to. But there are some people who do need to go that one step farther. I have a really good friend who has a daughter who has severe anxiety. Now, when she sticks to keto and does it right, the anxiety fades. And, she'd probably be a heck of a lot better on carnivore too. But there was a huge improvement. But like with Brett, he needed to take it that step farther because he was having, those kind of issues. And it just kind of depends. You may be able to handle everything on keto because a lot of people have, said that they have, cured their anxiety by just going keto. But there are some people who do need to go carnivore to get that extra whatever they need. So.
Very good. Very good. We got about 20 minutes left, folks. We really appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat with us. We've had 7 to 9 to 10 people the whole time, and I can't thank you all enough. If you have If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to ask, because that's why we're doing it this way. We want your questions. We want this to be an organic discussion. We don't want it to just be a boring back and forth between Amber and I. Well, what'd you do today? Well, I did this. Well, isn't that sweet? We don't want to do that. We want it to be something informative that can be helpful to everybody.
For sure.
Another scare that I had, I'm at a high school reunion. That's what I went there for. And there was 60 people in this one little room the first night, and this wasn't a problem. But the second night, it was in a bigger room and had more people. And everybody's carrying around these little plastic cups, and you could either drink water, I was drinking water, and carbonated water, or you could drink tea, or you could drink lemonade, or you could go to the bar and buy liquor. Well, I obviously wasn't doing that. Anyway, so we're having these discussions, and everybody's walking around carrying a cup and things, and you set it down, you're talking. Well, I grabbed the wrong cup, and I smelled the lemonade before it hit my lips, but some of it did get into my mouth. But I spit it immediately back into the cup. And ran, I threw it in the trash and got me some water and swoshed it around in my mouth and spit that out because I was so afraid to consume any sugar at all.
Yeah.
because we know from past experience that can go really bad. My behavior can get really out of control very fast. I can become super obnoxious man. We got a question here. It's a really good one. Do we think eating organ meat like liver is necessary? You want to start there with Amber?
Well, I definitely think it can be a good thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't at all. As a matter of fact, I attempted to eat liver. I tried it 4 different ways, and even raw. I actually ate raw liver. It was freaking disgusting, and I really don't feel a need to ever eat that again. I did find a way I can eat liver in ground beef at a 30-70% ratio, and I may add that in. Do I think it's really necessary? I don't really know. I think everybody, like Brett keeps saying, we're all individual, and maybe some of us do need that more than others. I don't know, but it's gross, and I don't really want it. But I'm kind of trying to branch out, and I'm actually trying new things. Like this past week, I tried sardines because they're supposed to be super good too. Like if you can't eat liver, you might want to try sardines. I tried sardines, and yeah, never, ever, ever again. I'm not even giving that a second chance. I don't even care what it's in. I don't care hot sauce, mustard. I don't care what you do to it. That was rank. It was vile. I will never do that again. It was so gross. But yeah, it's on video, y'all, if you want to watch, because it's disgusting. Yeah.
The difference with Amber and liver is at least she didn't spit it out. She actually swallowed it every time. Although she looked like she wanted to spit it out.
I kind of did. Yeah.
I knew as soon as I heard the words, the sardines smell like stink bait, that those things were not going, they were going to get spit out. It was just a question of where.
It's not good. It's not good. And I'm going to keep trying. Don't get me wrong. Not with sardines. I'm done with that. I tried it. I'm done. It's no go. I'm going to try other things, and I'm going to work my way up to maybe trying heart. That sounds so terrible. And a couple other things like that, just to see if there's something that maybe I can actually tolerate, or maybe I can overcome the mental part of it. It's just kind of a growth thing for me. But as far as necessary, there's two schools on that. I don't really know 100% one way or the other, to be honest. But I really think, if you eat meat and you're getting what you need nutrient-wise, I don't really think that there's a need for it unless you're in a certain, category where you're different and do need that. I don't know. But generally, I'm going to go with not really.
Okay. Here's my thought. I was taught to eat the meat I could crave and can afford.
Exactly.
By the people who've been living this way for 10 and 20 years. And that's all I've done is eat the meat I crave and can afford. And what I find that I crave still right now is the 90-10 ground beef I mentioned earlier and bacon. Now, it's interesting. An article came out a few weeks ago that told us things about ground beef that I was unaware of, which, number one, it includes organ meat. Organs are ground up in the ground beef. All right?
Yeah.
So
I'm okay with that now.
So eating your ground beef, you're getting some organ meat. How much? Who knows?
Yeah.
I just don't feel a need. Now, other people, maybe they're vitamin A, they're having vitamin A issues, they got some genetic problems. Maybe you need to. But I go on how I feel.
Yes.
That's always my number one measurement. Present health is the best predictor of future health.
Agree.
Got another question. Can I talk a bit more about behavior and sugar consumption?
Oh.
Well, this is specific to me. I don't think Amber suffers from any of this, thank God.
No.
And I don't want anybody to. But what we found for me is that sugar taste, sweet taste, can cause my behavior to deteriorate. And when I say deteriorate, I become very obnoxious, very impolite, angry, argumentative. And if it's allowed to go on too long, I become very nonsensical, and I'm unable to process what the person I'm speaking with is saying accurately.
Yeah.
I know this. I went through this when I was severely mentally ill for over 40 years. I want no part of that in my life for any reason. So there's nothing sweet enough, there's nothing delicious enough for me to put in my mouth to ever risk feeling like that again. How about grass-fed liver capsules? I just started those. If you feel better taking grass-fed
Exactly.
liver capsules, you take all you want.
Yep.
Uh, okay. Somebody said, Brett, you read my mind. Don't say that. I don't want to read your mind. I don't even want to read mine some of the time. Keep your secrets to yourself.
You don't want to be in Brett's mind, that's for
No,
sure.
you sure don't. It's not a pretty place to be. I'm telling you. Um, okay. I want to talk about skin improvements because we have both been experiencing this. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. When I started carnivory, I still, even after 3.5 years low carb, high fat, my elbows were cracked and dry. My ankles and heels were cracked and dry. The skin, I either itched constantly or it hurt because cracked skin, that's not a good thing. You don't want that.
No.
And it's all clear. I used to have flaky patches all over my scalp, even as a bald man, which is really disgusting to see and horrible to feel. It's all cleared up. It's all gone away. I had coworkers that I only saw once a month or once every couple of months telling me, you look younger. What are you doing? I'm like, you're out of your mind. But to them, I did. And my wife's held up some before and after pictures as this journey has progressed, and pretty soon we're going to have like a little collage of day one through by the 1 year mark, hopefully. And you could see for yourself the improvements in my skin. It's been really amazing. Now, I know you've got some skin issues that you're dealing with. Why don't you share your
Yeah.
experience so far?
Somewhere in like my mid-20s, I developed, or it showed up, rosacea, and I had it bad, and it just kept progressively getting worse and worse to the point where my face just stayed red. I looked like Rudolph with my big red nose, and I had these little veins over here, and I had like little bumps, kind of sort of like acne, but not quite. And it was real embarrassing, and especially like if I got hot or I had anything to drink or spicy or I got mad, I just, whoa! And it was always a telltale sign for anybody, oh, look, she's had a little to drink, or oh, look, she's mad. Or, you could always figure me out because I was just, ugh, it was awful. And on keto, it got progressively better, but it didn't clear it up. And that's one of the reasons I decided to give carnivore a try, because I had one of those issues that was not completely addressed by keto in almost 2 years. So I thought, what the heck? And so I went ahead and, did the carnivore, and progressively it is getting better. I don't have the little veiny things anymore. The bumps went away on keto, but like some of the flushing now is not so much through here anymore. It's kind of now more just located like right here. And it's just a little bit of blushing. It's nothing major, but I mean, it's still a little noticeable, but it has improved a lot. And so I'm crossing my fingers that it'll go away, because it's very embarrassing. Like if I don't wear makeup, I always feel like, I'm going to be, that Rudolph, guide my sleigh tonight, because it's just wow. But hopefully, it'll clear up completely.
Well, I've had the privilege of seeing and talking to you when you haven't had your makeup on, and I've been able to
Yep.
observe, and I told you yesterday or day before yesterday when we spoke that it's cleared up a great deal compared to
Yeah.
when we first started talking and communicating. It's really improved a lot. And because you weren't carnivore when we met, you were
No.
keto.
Right.
That's where the KetovoreKast name
Yes.
came from.
Yes. My background is definitely keto. I'm still learning carnivore, but I think it's kind of cool to have, an opinion of somebody just kind of more starting in there too. But,
And
you
we've got
know,
somebody in chat, Fit Before 50 and Beyond, who says that they've also had rosacea on their nose and hope it's going to get better. Stick with it. Don't
yeah,
give up on it. You
yeah,
can't, we all heal at different speeds, at different
yes,
rates. It varies depending on how sick you were when you started, how long you were
yes,
sick, what you were sick with,
absolutely.
what kind of crappy diet you did, how much damage needs to be healed before your
And
skin gets.
skin seems to be one of those that are like one of the last things addressed. I
for a
mean,
lot of people. For a lot of
yeah, and
people.
think about it though. Your body is meant, it deals with survival. It doesn't care what you look like on the outside. So, if it's not interfering with your functioning, like, a red face is not going to, kill you. And so it's going to be addressed later on. It's got too many other things to deal with first. And so the more issues, like Brett was saying, the longer it's probably going to take. And that's probably what happened with me. I had a lot of stuff inside that had to be healed first. So, patience, my favorite word.
The P word has been
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to set up a drinking game for these from now on, where anytime somebody uses the word
P
patience,
word.
Amber takes a drink.
Oh, Lord, no. No, no, no.
Just tease it. Just tease it. Okay, we got 9 minutes left. If you got a good question, now's the time to ask. If there's something you'd like to know about us, it's a good time. We're happy to answer. And if it's too personal, we'll just tell you, hey, that's a little personal. You don't get to know. I do appreciate you all hanging out. We're going to
Yes, thank
start
you.
trying to do these 2 times a week as we get further into it, as life permits, because believe it or not, we have lives, we have things to do. Amber's a
Yep.
grandmother with her grandbaby right next door. Do you honestly think she's going to stand and not go see that grandbaby at least 4 hours every day of the week?
Pretty
I
much
mean,
true.
seriously, she needs time. Anyway, but we think it's so important. We do this for a very specific reason we both share on, and I'll give Amber a chance to share her perspective on it. Sharing our stories really is important. And each one of you all in chat and the folks that are going to see this on the delayed version in the Storyland, it's going to be the same for you too. Your stories matter. You don't know who's paying attention. Somebody, somewhere is going to benefit from your experience.
Yes.
And you should tell it in a way that suits your skills. You might not be a loudmouth like me. You might not be a calm or quiet, but still public person like Amber. Because she's not crazy, she's just silly. The point being, share it where you get an opportunity. When the door opens, share it. And that door might be in a conversation. It could be at a Sunday school class. It could be at your synagogue. It could be at the grocery store. It could be at a civics gathering, the Kiwanis Club. Who knows? It could be anything.
Dance hall.
It could be the dance
We've had
hall.
several conversations, keto, carnivore, in a dance hall. So, yes.
And I went to my 40-year high school reunion with every intention. I wasn't going to talk about food. I wasn't going to talk about diet. I was just going to talk about fun we had as kids. And every third person, tell me how you did it. How did you lose all that weight? How are you looking so good and looking so happy, Brett? I don't understand. How did this happen? Okay, what's the easiest way to share your story? Well, that's going to depend on you. The easiest way I share my story, I never go anywhere without my cell phone. And if somebody brings up the issue of food in any way, shape, or form, I pull out a before and after picture from my phone. Their eyes
I do
get
too.
big, their jaw go up to, and then the question is, well, how'd you do it? Amber, what about you?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I do the same thing. People will say something, or like we're at a restaurant and I'll order what I order, steak and bacon. I don't want any sides, blah, blah, blah. Don't want the bread, don't want, all that. And then they kind of look at me strange and I said, carnivore. And they're like, oh, okay. And they start asking questions. And then I pull up my phone to show it and they're like, oh my gosh, really? Now what were you saying? And so they get really interested. And we've had many conversations in restaurants and, like I said, dance halls. So, yeah.
There's nothing more powerful, in my opinion, with these kinds of things than the before and after picture, because you don't have to be an eloquent speaker. You don't have to have a long story prepared,
right?
A line of shtick memorized that you're going to pitch them on. No. Just show the before and after picture and tell the truth. Tell them what happened.
It takes some bravery to put that out there. I'll be honest with you. I was so embarrassed and horrified by my before picture. Most of y'all probably seen that, but that's kind of horrifying. But now it doesn't bother me really to show it. because I'm kind of over that. But it does take a little bit to put yourself out there. But just think of all those people who can benefit. They can see hope. They can be inspired. And that's why I want to do what I'm doing, is I don't want anybody to have to spend 4 years trying to figure this out. I've done the hard work for you. I want to try to help you. I want to show you that it can be done, and if you have a story like that, you need to show more people. The more that they see of how we, have worked on our issues, the more information that's out there and people can benefit. So definitely do what you feel comfortable doing.
Oh, I agree 1,000%. It's very well said. It was beautifully said. Okay, we got about 4 minutes left. Tell people where they can reach you, Amber.
Okay, on Instagram, I'm Lone Star Keto Girl. On Twitter, Lone_Star_Keto. And I have a website, lone-star-keto.com. I know. I had to do that. I wished I could have had it all the same, but people took my name and stuff, so it just messed it all up. So.
Darn people wanting from
I
Texas. They all
know.
want to be keto, longhorn this and longhorn that. And
Don't they know I'm the original? Come on.
nobody wants to be a shorthorn, though. Have you ever noticed that? Nobody ever wants to be the shorthorn. Anyway, you can find me at thankful.carnivore. I also have a Facebook page called Thankful Carnivore. And you can find me at Twitter at Stickman Bleeding. That's StickmanBleedin. I also have a YouTube channel. And sometime by the end of next month, our YouTube channel will be live. But we're still planning on primarily coming here, but we'll also be doing some stuff there. And all of the episodes that we record here on Instagram will end up at the YouTube page for everybody. So we're trying to spread it out. We want to grow Instagram and we want to grow YouTube, and we're going to try to do it together simultaneously because we're crazy like that. Don't know when we're going to do this again. You've got Keto Fest coming up tonight.
Keto Con. This is the
Keto
eve.
Con,
I get to go to a book signing with Jimmy Moore and Dr. Ken Berry. Super excited about that. And then tomorrow, bright and early, it starts off with Dr. Ken Berry. He does the first thing. So, yay.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I can't wait to see the pictures and see some videos.
I'm going to be doing some lives. Yeah, so stay tuned.
Fantastic.
I'm excited.
Fantastic.
I'm going to meet everybody I can possibly meet. I'm going to be that fangirl. I decided the shy part of me is going to have to go away. I'm going for it. So watch out.
It's great. It's fantastic. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of you who's hung out with us. I really appreciated your participation. You asked some great questions. We want everybody to have the best day possible, a great weekend to come. Eat your meat, drink your water. And you guys know how I end all these things. Be thankful. We'll see you next time.
Yes. Thank y'all. Bye.